How many of you can do what my dear friend can do now? You have a dream of being able to take your grandchildren, your children to Legoland. So what do? You hop on the phone and you call your private pilot of your private plane and say, hey, pick us up tomorrow at 9. We're going to Legoland. This lady, Miss Debbie Cherney, is an absolute advocate for being authentic to yourself. And by living a life of high standards, you can accomplish everything and more. You were able to begin a company that has since sold for tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, so that now your reach can be farther and more abundant in its giving than ever before. I welcome you to the Abundant Mind Show. Welcome.
Thank you, Jake. It's a pleasure to be here.
So happy to have you here. So let's share your journey about how you can make a call tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and say, hey, and very humbly, hey, someone's in need. Let me send you my private jet. Or, hey, I want to dote on my grandbabies. Let's go to Legoland. How did you get here?
Thanks, Jake. All things that happen to you happen for a reason. And I was fortunate to have my career change in college when I was 3 years through a medical technology degree and was kicked out of the program. And I'm 3 years through college, want to graduate, want to be done. And I had to go back to the college catalog book and look for another degree that would fit, that I could finish in the next year. I was blessed that I found medical microbiology and just fell in love and had a passion for microbiology.
So give us again the year.
82, 83, graduated in 83.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Medical microbiology, that was a new frontier even for that time, right?
It definitely was. It really didn't have a career path. It was really interesting because from a medical perspective, I couldn't draw blood. So the hospitals and clinics didn't want me with that degree. And from an industrial side, I call it industrial microbiology now. So everything that's not clinical, they didn't perceive the need for microbiologists on their staff. So I didn't really have a home. I had a great education. But didn't have a home with which to find and develop a career specifically with that. But after some perseverance, I certainly did.
Wow. And so, you grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, right? Where there are cows aplenty. And what I want to share with you guys is, you don't realize, and again, like she was just sharing, a lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to do this microbiology thing, well, it makes sense to be in a hospital setting or a clinical setting. She took her life skills for where she grew up, and she made that a profession that changed the lives of and saved the lives of who knows. We can't even quantify how many lives you have protected and saved by doing what you do. And so, but you were able to take your knowledge of growing up in a small town and were able to create a profession. So let's keep going down that path. So you're in school, it's in the 80s. You just were told, hey, you stink at this. And you had the option of quitting, but you decided, you flipped open the catalog and saw that. And where did that take you?
That took me to wire welding baskets graveyard shift in Sturgeon Bay because there were no jobs in the 80s, certainly not for people without any kind of experience. But, perseverance is key. So I'd found a small dairy laboratory in the area that I was professionally persistent until they hired me to perform some testing. So badgering people.
Professionally persistent.
With perseverance is usually successful to get you in the door. And really that was the start. I then found a career and a love. The industrial microbiology part was so fun because it was so frontier. And people needed help, and it's truly what I've always really enjoyed is helping people in need. And I found just an opportunity to be there. But I also found in a situation where I didn't feel that that organization ran at my standards. And I talk about ethical standards at that point. And to me, that's how I was brought up, to be very ethical and honest. And sometimes that's been a downfall or an area that I've had to deal with, but there's nothing more important than being honest and ethical. And so that helped me get to a point where I was ready to move out on my own. And because I wanted to be able to feel great about what I had to offer. And I opened up then a laboratory that really was only just to satisfy my personal desire to provide customer service. And it grew into a very large business and a very successful business that I was well compensated for.
I love that you talked about your standards, those ethical and moral standards that you grew up with. Because so many people think that, gosh, in order to get to this level of success, do I have to compromise who I am? And, and what we're talking about, you guys, is one of the things that you had shared with me as we were talking before, is you had said that one of your life's greatest lessons that you've ever learned is that your gut is almost always right, to always follow your gut. And that gut comes from who you are, your life's experiences. So you guys, she was in a place where you would get, and we're not talking about cloning, we're not talking about, crazy. We're talking about being able to test dairy products and meat and whatnot. And at this time, people would say, well, hey, this huge company wants us to, they want us to test their products. It's kind of subpar. And foodborne illness wasn't really understood in the 80s like it is today. But you had the foresight to say, you guys, this is deadly, or this is not safe, or, hey, this is good, but this is not great. And so you could have easily made that decision to just keep working, to have a 9-to-5, help provide some income for your family. But what would have been compromised if you'd have chosen that path?
My personal standards. You can't go home and sleep at night when you haven't done everything you possibly could have to do your very best. And to be honest, very much save lives. There's a ton of millions and millions of dollars of material that I put in landfills to keep people safe.
Wow.
When I think back at that. And I also think of a couple of companies that I worked with that we weren't on the same page. And when I would call them and tell them that they had problems and they wanted me to interpret results in a different manner, or the way the other laboratory did, we walked away. It's hard every day to walk away. I don't care how big you are as a company, but to turn away business. But that company didn't survive, and we flourished because of our ethical standards.
Yeah, and that is a key point, you guys, that you have to be authentic to who you are, and that truth always, always, always wins. You may be turning down an opportunity for money, but you're selling your soul, you're selling your standards, and you won't sleep at night. And a person who can't stand on their own 2 feet, confident that they are trustworthy, loyal, that they are honest, ethical, you absolutely can't sleep. You will watch your life change as you live a double standard life, being authentic to who you are. And that's one of the things that I love. I guess that's probably reason 3,427. What I love about Debbie, and what Emma and I, my wife, and I love about you, is you are so humble in your levels of success. And you are a wealth of knowledge. And how we met, we met on a private island, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And I love this journey. We were able to go to Brittany Turner, and you guys, we're gonna have Brittany on the show here. Brittany is a self-made billionaire by about 34 years old, and she's on a mission to change the world. And she owns her own island in the British Virgin Islands, Buck Island. It is now Ariel Island. And we met with some of our mentors and teachers and leaders, with Dr. Sean Dill, Dr. Lacey Book, Dave Meltzer, and we were able to go and learn at the feet of Dave. And I love when I was asking people, we had a gorgeous, gorgeous dinner on a private island, right at dusk, sunset going into the evening. I mean, the most beautiful weather you could think of, stars like you can't even imagine, surrounded by wealth of knowledge of the most incredible people in the world. I was asking, who's that? And when I asked about who you were, it was and I mean it sincerely, it was a hush. It was on people like, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so. It was a hush, like, that's Debbie. Wow. You don't know Debbie yet? You need to meet Debbie. I'm like, why are we whispering? They're like, you need to meet Debbie. You need to see what she has accomplished and to hear how successful your last business venture was. I could see a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, that's a dream. If I could get to my 40s, 50s, 60s and have that wealth, I'd be done. And for some people, if that's your vision to get to a certain level of financial prosperity and be done, hey, good for you. But I love that we met on the island and your journey was, what is my next chapter? Right? Would you mind sharing some of your thoughts and feelings that what led you to the island and what's come from since the island? Would you mind sharing that?
The island opportunity was transformational for me. It was life changing. And I went to the island not sure of the purpose of why I was invited and why I was called to attend the island. And I didn't know anybody, and you guys were all friends already, but I came away with an entire new group of friends, you included, and Emma, your wife, that I now treasure so much in my daily activities and my daily thoughts. It is so cool to know what the island did for me, listening to Brittany, listening to David, and coming away with my personal, a personal satisfaction and comfort of what my next role would be, because I wasn't done. I wasn't retired. I like the word rewired. And because I've been more active now than I was a year ago, but in things that I'm finding fun. So filling my days with nonprofits that need my help and guidance and advice and material things to I've begun engaging with Unstoppable, the nonprofit that David and Julie are very involved in. I'm really excited to get more involved there. So really having my dreams come true, finding ways to stay super, super busy, finding ways to enjoy the experiences that I like, hunting and fishing, grandkids, travel, but also finding ways to give back, because I have been abundantly blessed, and recognizing that and sharing it back has been just a true satisfaction for me.
Thank you for that. I love and with such humility that you share your heart and your mind, which are one, that you knew that you weren't done. You knew that you were just beginning. When we read, the books from Dale Carnegie and some of the greatest minds who've ever lived, they all teach a principle that the wealthiest people and the most affluential people in the world got there typically in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, which when I first read that, I was like, wait, really? I was like, aren't you done at that time? No, they're just getting started. Like, I love what you just said. After having that level of success, you can still do what you love. I love, girl, that you turkey hunt. I love that you can call in a turkey. I think that is one of the, not only just selling your company and having the levels, like having a private plane. I love that you hunt turkey. I love you're authentic to who you are. You are us. You're me. You're you. You guys.
I'm redneck.
This no is the doubt. Lady, you guys, that can show you how it's done. And I love your humbleness with giving back. I love that we talked about being able to create a legacy for your family. What legacy are you leaving behind? If you were to look at your ancestors, I guarantee there's an ancestor there that is famous for something or well-known for something, or that accomplished something. And a lot of people think, oh, that was just my ancestor. But what legacy are you leaving behind? What wealth of knowledge, what wealth of perseverance, of living your standards are you leaving behind? And it starts with your mind. If you are determined that you are going to live a life of high standards, to live your morals, to be truthful and to give and to not compromise that, man, when money comes, if you are only going to be attracted to an opportunity, Brian Bogart, one of our friends, he teaches just because you can monetize something doesn't mean you should. if you're not passionate about it, if it doesn't light you up, or if it is in any way questionable and or it drives you away from what you want, don't do it. Because there are millions of opportunities to create wealth and to create freedom. I love that not only are you having fun doing what brings you joy every day with those that bring you love and joy, but you're able to give back higher and more faster and more powerfully today than ever. Would you mind sharing kind of the beginnings of your foundation and your charity with us today?
Sure, absolutely. So the business was just a mechanism to get there. What I truly think is very now powerful is the legacy we will create with the Marvin and Debra family, because that's all important. Marvin and Debra Cherney Family Foundation, and so we've just formed that, of course, as a tax. As my tax advisors recommend all the things that I need to do, that this was a great way for me to be able to give, but also benefit myself. And as I benefit myself, then that just means I have more to give. So we've created a family foundation that my daughter, who loves to be the face of things and has an extroverted mindset, is the executive director. So it's really a blessing for me to be able to hand this over to her and say, now execute it at the level for generations to come. And so she has 3 children, and all of those children will help us drive who we, the beneficiaries of the foundation. So it is very broad in its sense of who we are targeting. So it is educational development, the underprivileged, and as I was setting up the rules and the bylaws, I found that it was very narrow and pigeonholed for me. And then I said, it was like in the United States. And I said, no, I said, I want global capabilities, because Africa and the mission that David and Julie are on was very touching to my heart and something that I had always wanted to do. And here was this opportunity right in front of me. So it is to look for those opportunities where I can make an impactful difference, led by my daughter, but for generations to come. We intend to ask the grandkids how they want, what's important in their hearts, to help them understand that this is why this all happened to our family, was to for generations going forward to give back. It's really kind of cool. So in these last couple of months, it's been kind of a quiet story, but we have a very longest standing telethon in the country is in Green Bay for cerebral palsy. And I think it's 58 or 62 years or something like that. The community this year raised over $1.5 million for itself to give back to that charity or that nonprofit. And we unveiled our foundation at that event as a major sponsor. And the community, then now my personal community, my friends and stuff, are beginning to recognize what we're going to be doing going forward. And it's pretty cool that they're saying that's cool. And I'm glad they can recognize it.
I love that, and we always hear the thought that hindsight is 2020, right? The greatest lessons of life are 2020. And a lot of times we're going through something in our life that we don't realize is a lesson. This is transformative. And we are always, every one of us are going to be presented with an option to quit, just keep pushing through, or to raise our life and our mindset towards something greater. So share with us, put yourself back in the 80s, put yourself back then, and imagine. So if you were to talk to yourself today, you could go back and talk to young Debbie and say, Debbie, here's what is, I'm getting emotional. Look at what you've accomplished. What are the lessons that you would encourage yourself that is absolutely quintessential to achieving the level of success you have today? What are those life lessons? We've talked about trusting your gut. We've talked about living your standards. What are those other steps that we have to take in order to achieve what we want to achieve? What are those steps that you would teach yourself?
Value your family and friends. I can't explain how many times my family sacrificed and did what they did on the backside to let me be successful. The grandmas who babysit the kids for forever because I work 7 days a week. My husband who said, "You've got a dream, go live your dream," and was supportive to me with everything because you put in everything. So there was much sacrifice. There was much passion, but it from a money perspective, I remember the days where we mortgaged 2 extra cars just to make the next, month's payments.
Wow.
And my husband said, all in, just go do what you dream. So valuing and appreciating your family. Without my family, I would have not have been successful. Without my friends, I remember moving from one facility to a brand new facility in 2000, and we only had 7 employees at that time. So I had to employ all of my friends to rent a couple of U-Haul trucks and move our equipment on Saturday and Sunday so that no business operations would be interrupted. But, having friends and appreciating what they can do for you, but also doing something back for them are invaluable. So, and I guess realizing that you don't know everything. So communicating with and finding a good, solid group of advisors that share your standards, whatever those standards are, that believing in what they tell you, and then because you don't know everything, and you have to have those advisors around you, and it was trust them and trust your gut.
I really appreciate that. The more people that I have the privilege of being able to communicate with and to hear their stories, they always share. And some people have had it all, like our friend Dave Meltzer, right? He talks about he had everything. He had his Ferraris, there are over 30 homes. He had hundreds of millions of dollars and he lost it all. And he almost lost his family. And what brought him back and what sounds like has propelled you and kept you to the path was family, and understanding that you value them more than anything. I have so many young business owners and business owners who've been there a long time who say, I really want to spend time with my family, yet they work 80-hour weeks. You guys, there are ways and there are opportunities to have exactly what you want without compromising those who matter most to you. I love that you shared what every one of the most successful people we talk to have shared, that you have to have mentors, that our mentors have mentors and their mentors have mentors. It takes a lot of humility, doesn't it? In order to say, I need help, or, Absolutely. Hey, I've done this right. And it takes even more humility when someone says, you could have done it better, or here's another way of doing it. And that is one of the lessons that I've learned from you, is to be able to walk in humbleness, to be able to see the greatness that truly lies within you, and to have a desire and to be on a mission to allow you to achieve what few dare to achieve, yet alone achieve it. And then once you're there, to have the humility and the passion and the power and the drive to say, I have completed this chapter and this book of my life. I am on to the next great adventure. And for you to discover that is just nothing but awe-inspiring. You guys, Debbie is just like you. Debbie is a mother. Debbie was told that she should compromise her values. Debbie was told that things couldn't be done. Debbie decided to join a frontier that no one knew anything about. Today, every day we hear of something new. We have virtual reality. We have information and knowledge at our fingertips. There is so much opportunity today to share your dream and your message. Look for those opportunities. We're going to put your information below here for those that would love to talk to Debbie, and she's very generously as mentioned. So if you guys please put your emails below. and Debbie would love and would be willing to share her message with you. But my message, you guys, is you are enough. You have within you greatness. You have within you the ability to achieve everything you've desired to achieve. You will be the legacy that everyone talks about, but you have to act. Opportunities come every single day in your life to act. And when you really understand what you want in life, and that's what you had to discover twice. What do you want? And then you had to discover who can help you get there. When were you going to do it? How are you going to do it? And then your why behind it all. Thank you for sharing those messages of trusting your gut, of loving your family first, of being loyal to your friends and having mentors and creating a system and a dream and a legacy that will be held for generations. Debbie, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being on the Abundant Mind Show. And we can't wait to have you on again to hear how this next chapter of life is unfolding for you.
Thank you, Jake.